Loud. Okay. All right, we're good to go. Got the recording going. All right, ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right.
Can you see me with there's a black line going across the top. You see that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, across my face. You see it like,
No, I
oh,
don't
I
see
need to
them.
be okay with it. Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't see.
Now it's fine. All right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
That was a good blooper actually.
There you go. I was gonna say we should have some bloopers.
No problem.
All right. Hi, I'm John Heberling, Senior Partnerships Manager at KickFurther. This is our CPG Ecosystem Insight series, where we bring brand operators and partnerships across the space to share their experience, knowledge, and what's actually working behind the scenes. We'll cover everything from fulfillment to marketing, retail growth, and more. These are meant to be short, tactical conversations with insights you can apply to your business. Today, we're diving into fulfillment, one of the critical parts of the operations side of things. I'm joined by Eric Tanji, Director of Sales and Partnerships at MAI Fulfillment. Eric, appreciate you being here today.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And glad I kept your last name. I don't know, Tanjay. So,
Oh, but John, we might want to start over again because it's MAI
okay,
fulfillment.
that's what I meant to ask before.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
MAI, like MAI, just Mary, Apple, India.
Got it. Okay, so you don't say my fulfillment. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
All right, we
Yeah.
will start over. All right, let me go again. Actually, it'll be good because I feel like sometimes I'm still
Based
reading.
out of Chicago. Maybe you say that too. MAI fulfillment based out of Chicago. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got
Yeah, I
it.
forgot to tell you before. My
No,
my
that's
bad.
helpful. See, that's just like stuff like that. It's perfect.
Yeah. And Tanji. Don't forget Tanji.
Tanji. Got it.
I should have let you just go with tongue, and everybody that knew me would be laughing their ass. All right, go ahead.
Tanji. Got it.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Hi, I'm John Heberling, Senior Partnerships Manager at KickFurther. This is our CBG Ecosystem Insight series, where we bring on brand operators and partners across the space to share their experience, knowledge, and what's actually working behind the scenes. We'll cover everything from fulfillment to marketing to retail growth and more. These are meant to be short, tactical conversations with insights that you can apply to your business. Today, we're diving into fulfillment side of things, one of the critical parts of the operations. I'm joined by Eric Tanji, Director of Sales and Partnerships at MAI Fulfillment, based out of Chicago. Eric, appreciate you being here today.
Hey, thank you very much, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And Chicago native, you a Cubs guy?
I am a Cubs guy. Yeah, absolutely. Love the
Yeah,
Cubbies.
yeah, love the Cubs. Well, baseball season starts tonight, actually. So,
It does. I'm actually a Green Bay fan and a Cubs fan. Kind of weird, but yeah.
okay, all right. I like the twist. Well, to give a background, and everything, I'd love for you to give a little history on you. Like, what's your background? What's the what MAI fulfillment specializes in?
Sure, absolutely. So my background, I've been a part of multiple small business startups my whole career, and 8 years doing fulfillment and helping early stage fulfillment companies build out a process that's been very successful. And yeah, MAI is an incredible fulfillment service that provides top-notch customer service. Within the warehouse, we have account managers offer incredible rates. We're very transparent. I think that's extremely important in working with brands. And MAI works with all different size companies, e-commerce brands, B2B, D2C, everything that you could think of under the sun is probably in our warehouse. We take a consultative approach to make sure that we're getting the right customer because at the end of the day, it has to be a good partnership for both the company that we're talking to and ourselves. And so we spend a lot of time going through all these different stages to determine if a customer is a good fit for us. And then we put together a pricing program based on a lot of factors, which includes really heavily discounted shipping rates, storage rates. And so we do kitting, we do a little bit of everything for customers, set them up for growth.
Love it. Yeah, I think leaning into like being a true partner, understanding when it's a true, a fit with each other, and then transparency, obviously, is such a big things in the space.
Yes, in consulting a customer and really getting a firm understanding of what they're looking for and what their understanding is in the 3PL industry.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, let's hop into the question side of things. So first, what are the benefits of having, one centralized warehouse versus multiple warehouses?
Sure. Well, let's start with the idea that when we're talking about one warehouse versus multiple, we're talking about a fulfillment company that's centrally located in the United States. So you're going to average zone four, maybe zone five. And then let's talk about multiple warehouses, three or more, right? You would think that having multiple warehouses, that we've been marketed this concept forever, right? Hey, reduce your shipping costs, have multiple warehouses, get close to your customer, you'll be faster delivery times. There's so many things that are discussed in the industry that sometimes set people up for failure. I think one of the things that's really left out is service, right? And so a lot of these 3PLs that are out there today really market the concept of warehouses all over the place. But in all reality, those aren't their warehouses. Usually they're outsourcing it. So it could be another fulfillment company you've never heard of that's doing the fulfillment for you. And
Mhm.
then you would think that the rate that you're looking at would be cheaper than somebody with one warehouse, and that's not necessarily true. And the speed of delivery, being 100 miles away from your customer, you think it would get there quicker. That's not always the case. And so when you think about building your brand, I think it's extremely important to look at several factors. I think it's really important to look at how their organization set up from within the warehouse, right? That is a major factor that needs to be considered. And also the rates. Look at everything thoroughly, making sure that the rates that you're looking at with someone with multiple locations, and look at the type of service. Is it going to be a 3-day service to get to a customer that's 100 miles away? So what are you gaining, right? There's a lot of factors that go into it. I do a lot of consulting to help customers think about it before they make a decision.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big decision, right?
Yeah,
And what
absolutely.
what stages do you typically find when brands are ready to expand to the, multiple warehouses?
Yeah, a lot of it, this industry is very tricky. There's a lot of factors. And if you're just looking at the pick and pack and the shipping locations and the speed, um, that's not a healthy way to look at it. You really need to look at what's important to your business, right? There's a lot of horror stories out there. Read a lot of reviews on Trustpilot, Google reviews. You're going to find out that a lot of these multiple warehouse locations are not always customer service, transparent solutions. You lose things in translation, right? If you don't have somebody in the warehouse. So I think, it's hard to say this, but if you're shipping 2 or 3 thousand shipments a day, you might need a need for another warehouse. But it all goes down to working with your 3PL, making sure that you have a good partnership with them, and really utilize their service from within their warehouse to help you build and prepare to grow your company.
Great. And then, you know, kind of transition, I know you mentioned it earlier. So when brands are evaluating 3PL, you talked about cost and understanding that the cost and all the factors behind it. So how do these brands know if they're getting good rates based on what, information is presented to them?
Yeah, that's a great point. So there's a lot of companies out there that promote, 60 cents, a dollar order fees. They may promote, free storage or free, all these little gamuts that, these unique things they come up with to market this big picture of cost savings, right? That's a dangerous way to approach a customer. The first thing is really consulting them and really figure out what they're looking for. And I think that when you do that, you need to get 3 proposals from 3 different companies. And you need to break down those proposals. And the way you do it is you got to think about the overall cost to ship something. I once heard somebody on LinkedIn talking about divisors and how a higher divisor is really important. Well, it's really not, because if you're working with one proposal and the one proposal says 7 pounds is, say, $12, right? And then you get somebody that has a high divisor that lowers you to a 5 pounds, right? Versus the other company's 7 pounds, but their rate's $14, right? So the divisor doesn't really work unless the 3PL is really willing to share a lot of those postage and the volume discounts that they're getting from the carriers, right? And also the speed of delivery. When you look at rates, what's the speed? Are you starting to think about multiple warehouses because the rates that you're presented are great, but then if you're looking at multiple warehouses, are you really getting anything because it's going to still take 3 days? Or are you using a service that's really cheap postage wise when you see it, but you can't compare it to the other proposal because this one that's really cheap may take 4 to 8 days to go to a customer, and this one over here might be 2 to 3 days, right? So, and you got to ask: is fuel surcharge included? Is DAS extended? Residential surcharges? There's all these fees, and you look at the total cost. So make sure you ask a customer or a 3PL, hey, can you send me rates, postage rates with all the fees included? Break it down for me so I know how much I'm paying for fuel. Or if they give you a chart with all the rates by zone, then ask, hey, is fuel included? Is residential? There's all these surcharges. Make sure you ask the questions so you know what your overall cost is going to be. And you're not just looking at the picking or packing fee, right? Ask for how much their boxes are going to cost, right? Because that could be a way they mark it up too. Make sure that the 3PL is sharing those revenue, the reduced rate discounts they get, right? Some people include the fuel, some people don't. Some people already got free fuel, but they're not sharing with you, right? So break all that down. Ask for, what their divisor is. Ask what their rates are. Get their postage. Get all the fees, right? Don't miss out on something and get it up front. You don't want to find out later on that you didn't include fuel and it's 20%.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. You kind of go off of those top line numbers, the picking and packing, you don't focus on all the other stuff. So like you said, when brands are getting those three proposals from three different fulfillment providers, what they should specifically looking for those proposals is the specific breakdown of all the costs, right? Like that's like one of the key
Correct.
things.
Correct. Because a lot of times people just don't realize that postage is a big part of it, right? Some 3PLs I've seen, they really like, well, here's your order fee, and then the postage we just pass on to you. And a customer thinks, oh, okay, I'm thinking postage is standard across the board. Well, that's not true, right? Because then you might end up getting a service that takes 4 to 8 days to ship it them, but the rate may be true, but it's not a good service, right? It may not
Pay what
deliver
you get for
package
it.
results. Yeah, so you got to really ask these questions to make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you really have to compare everything accurately across the board. So then I know you mentioned like some warehouses are owner operators, like you guys are, and then other ones they are, you work with them, but they don't own the warehouses themselves. So they might, when you're
Yeah,
working with them, you don't have the direct contact within the warehouse. So what
right.
are, and I feel like that's a big key differentiator. So what are the benefits of having that direct contact within the warehouse?
Yeah, I think it's just absolutely the most important thing. Early on in my career, I noticed the service levels at an organization I was a part of that it was really hard to execute excellent service. For one, if a salesman didn't discuss or ask the right questions and consult them on different ways of thinking to prepare them for the next stage in setting up their business with a fulfillment company, the operations side of things really suffered, right? And so one thing that's really, really important is having a account manager within the warehouse, right?
Mhm.
Having phone support and being able to, you know, call Sally and Sally talks to Jim and Jim, things get lost in translation, right? And so when these companies that outsource their warehouses or their clients' products to another warehouse and have multiple warehouses, they sometimes have different service levels. New York and Chicago, they're all pay people different. The companies operate
Mhm.
different. So you might have really good service levels here and not so good here. And then you got to manage all those different things. Account manager on the floor, the outcome, it's not just the communication, right? They're responsible for fixing issues, not just reporting it, right? And so they know your product too, right? They can feel it, they can touch it. Maybe you have an influencer, you want to do something unique, you know, all those things matter to people. and it's people's brands. You can't be waiting 3 hours for a call back or an email, right? I think executing from within the warehouse is essential for these businesses, especially for their growth, and you can't really get that if you're using multiple warehouses throughout the country. You just can't. You're going to have different levels of service, and you're going to get a call center person that's going to be your dedicated rep. Completely
Yeah.
different type of service model.
Yeah, yeah. I think like you mentioned, having those key contacts that you can get a hold of right away when something's wrong, you need something to be fixed, or an opportunity has arisen, and you're like, oh, I need to jump on this, quickly and understand like what is the capacity stuff to be able to take, say yes to this opportunity. So be able to talk through that with your account manager that you have a good relationship with, has that understanding of your product. I feel like that direct contact makes those decisions a lot easier to make.
Yeah, and just it's one other point. When you're looking at fulfillment and you're working with somebody with multiple warehouses, you have to ask yourself, are they more of like a marketing company than an actual fulfillment company? Because actual fulfillment company is the one fulfilling it. They're just marketing their technology in multiple warehouses, and they may own one or two, but at the end of the day, it's your brand. And I think
Mhm.
it's so important to make sure that you have that partnership. It's so important to have somebody within that can hold your hand in the beginning and help you scale as you grow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Do you have an example of, have like where a brand having that direct contact within the warehouse really helps someone like again take, advantage of an opportunity, or maybe had a bad experience because they didn't have that direct experience, direct contact within? Like, can you any examples you can share?
Yeah, I mean, just recently I had a guy that was doing CBD, right? You know, five 5,000 orders a month or something. I had a really big customer, but somebody that could benefit from having someone within, right? And he was working with another fulfillment company with outsourcing scenario, and in one location, some of his product was lost. And in another scenario, the dedicated account manager they were working with was challenged with getting a response time from the other fulfillment
Hmm.
location, right? And the whole time, the guy didn't realize that there's two different companies that are fulfilling the orders, even though you're dealing with this person. And so he the inventory management process was offset. It wasn't necessarily accurate. And this guy, really suffered. It really hurt his brand. And if you were to have everything centrally located, not only would he possibly save money per shipment and still deliver a 3-day service, but his brand, that with the lost packages and things like that, he didn't have that account manager in the warehouse that's on top of it, right? That knows what's going on, is able to give him direct feedback.
Hmm.
And so he was challenged with long delays in getting answers. And I think if you read a lot of reviews out there from the history of these fulfillment companies, you will find that they're notorious for lack of transparency, communication, and the response times are quite long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So kind of digging into the, like you mentioned, the reviews to understand what those trends are, from at
Yeah,
least.
I think it's important to look into these reviews and really see what they're saying about their experience. And if you're using multiple warehouses, you're not having somebody within and you're growing your business, or say a company is not really doing B2B either. Like some 3PLs don't really want B2B. They don't
Hmm.
really want FBA. They just want to do D2C or something. Well, that's a loser too, because you want to be able to grow your business. And what happens if you're growing into B2B, you're growing into different channels? You don't want your company to suffer or have to move yourself to a different 3PL because of that.
Yeah,
So there's a lot that goes into making sure that you choose the right 3PL, but also understand why would you need multiple warehouses? Is it really
yeah,
beneficial, right?
yeah, yeah. It's understanding all that. Well, thanks for that. Uh, And then one other question. What's one mistake that you've seen brands make with fulfillment that's cost them either like the most money or maybe cost them growth? I know you mentioned like not having a fulfillment provider that only does D2C, and then you get these other opportunities in the B2B side they can't take advantage of, or they have to find a new warehouse. Like what's a common mistake you see?
Treating fulfillment as a transactional relationship. I think that is probably number one in my book. And just looking at the pricing, right? Like the pick and pack. right? Just the basic concept, or rushing through the process and not getting a full understanding of what they're going to be doing for you, all the particular things, allowing that customer really understand what is going to take place and how it's going to work to make sure that you're not putting yourself with the wrong fulfillment partner. For
Yeah.
example, if they just really want to focus D2C, if they're not really focused on B2B or FBA, or TikTok, you really want to make sure that they're able to support you around. I think the transactional part is the biggest issue because they think of it as a transaction and it's not.
Yeah.
It's a partnership consulting. You got to really work together as a team to be help a brand succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's alignment where you are and then where you're going, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just think it's so important to make sure that your service from within, I think, is detrimental to people's brand. And that doesn't mean that you need multiple warehouses that have that type of service in the same shipping times that they have. In fact, the cost may be even cheaper with one because they may not be sharing that discount with the carriers that they get with you as much as they will with one warehouse. So you know
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And last question, if someone wants to, reach out, learn more, talk through fulfillment, like you said, you do a lot of consultation. What's the
yeah,
best way for someone to get in touch with you?
you just email me, Eric, ERIK, at MAIFulfillment.com.
Huh, easy enough. Okay.
Easy enough. Yeah. And I appreciate, being able to talk about this topic. I think a lot of people need to think about things a little differently when they're picking out a 3PL partner.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Yeah. So, well, Eric, this was great. Thank you again. Really appreciate you breaking all this down, providing the insight. Hopefully everyone listening learned a few things that they can, think about from the fulfillment side of things. And thanks for joining, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.
Sounds good. Thanks, John. So I think